Hey, today I'm going to answer your creative writing questions, and then I'm going to introduce a brand new segment where we go into the technique of the day. Now, this is going to be a creative writing technique that's going to help you build a better character. And then after that, we're going to go into my daily live challenge as I spend 30 minutes a day every day for 1 year and narrate my process as I write a story. So when you're working on your next story, you can create an even better creation. All right. Welcome to Kauffman Writes. I'm Kauffman, and this is my daily live stream where I answer creative writing questions, do creative writing techniques, and also do my daily creative writing challenge. One of the reasons I started this live stream was because I wanted to challenge myself to write for 30 minutes a day every day for 1 year. So far, today is day 28. I've created 5 stories, and I'm the story that I'm working on, The Last Scarecrow, is actually coming out very, very well. So we're going to see what type of novel this ends up becoming. And then the second reason that I really wanted to create this series was because I've worked with so many writers over the past probably like 10 years or so. And in all the creative writing writing groups that I've been a part of with, and with all the writers that I've participated with, and with clients, I've seen that one of the biggest problems that writers struggle with is consistency. Even as I posted a creative writing question in one of the writing groups on Facebook, the number one problem that it seemed like people generally struggle with is procrastinating as a writer. And I totally get it, especially when there are so many distractions out there. All right, so let's hop right into our first segment, your creative writing questions answered. So let's see. So I chose a number of popular creative writing questions that I've seen over the past years to provide you value so you can improve as a writer. Hey, what's up, Vaughn? Welcome, welcome. Have you ever played League of Legends? I was just playing as Fiddlesticks the Demon Scarecrow. As a side note, before I hop into this segment, the League of Legends, yes, I used to. I want to say I was a Lux. I was always a Lux player when I used to play on LoL. I loved Lux so much. Actually, it's funny that you say Fiddlesticks because he's literally like the Demon Scarecrow, and I'm not writing a demon scarecrow, but I am creating a type of scarecrow. Fiddlesticks is hard to play with. As I recall from when I used to play, Fiddlesticks is a very difficult character. But I think if you get his curse ability right, he can really be like, he can be a weapon of destruction. Literally, whenever I played Lux, I literally just wanted to go around the board and then snipe everything. I had so much fun when you snipe, what was that? The Baron. Oh, I loved it so much when you snipe it from the other team. Now you're gonna make me want to play LOL. Okay. All right, so let's hop into our segment, your creative writing questions answered. All right, so question number 1. I used to write a lot, but it's been a while. Now that I'm coming back to writing, how should I get started? So let's say that you have an experience in writing, but it's probably been maybe a couple years, a good 5-10 years, and something changes in your life. You're like, all right, it's time to get back into that writing mindset. It's time to get back into it. And I wouldn't say I've ever taken that long of a break personally. Probably only taken maybe a few months, maybe 6 months at most. But something you always want to go back to is you want to think about what you're passionate about. What was the thing that made you want to start writing in the first place? If that the reason being is because that's realistically one of the reasons that now you're wanting to come back to it again. So hold on to that feeling and don't let it go as you start in this new writing journey. Now, once you're getting back into it, you have 2 options. You can either do option 1, you can return to one of your stories that you previously worked on the last time you wrote, or option 2, you can start on a brand new story. There's value to going in either direction, but it really depends on A, what is your goal? And then B, what are you gonna have the most fun doing? I think if you're just getting back into it, choose whichever option is going to give you the most fun. If you wanna go with option 1 and you wanna return to an old story, pick one of the stories that, like, really motivated you, but what I suggest is start from the beginning and not just rewriting it from the beginning, but take it through a full new draft and kinda, like, now that it's clearly had time, you'll be able to take it through a full drafting process. And then if you choose option number 2 and you just wanna start something fun, start doing some free writes. Start with writing prompts and see what type of creativity comes from there. Okay, and then let's go question number 2. As a student, how should I structure a creative writing story for class? So, a lot of the times when you get creative writing assignments in school, and I remember this from my days pursuing creative writing as a bachelor's, it usually the assignments will revolve around a specific style of storytelling. Because as you're progressing through the class, they want you to improve bit by bit, and then usually in the end, then you'll have to write a fuller story, generally speaking, and that's assuming that it's like a structured class. The exception could be that it might be a workshop class, and then you have to do different stories periodically. Assuming that it's you're focused on just one specific structure, let's say it's an assignment like you need to write a story using the 3-act structure, and that's actually a very, very easy common one. What you'd wanna do is, A, first do a little research and understanding, A, what is the 3-act structure, and then once you have that, then you can start developing what are the 3 points from it. And let's say that it's a little more open and it's a little more broad, and they're just like, I do a writing story, and they're going to grade you on maybe like creativity, tone, voice, and all these different aspects. What I would say is break down each of the aspects that you're going to be graded on, right? So if you're going to be graded on dialogue, tone, and then grammar, right? Dialogue, tone, grammar. Break those 3 elements down. And then as you're creating the story, you can place a greater emphasis on dialogue, tone, and grammar. For instance, if you're being graded on dialogue, then you can write a story that heavily emphasizes characters who are going to be speaking more. But if you were writing a story that was going to be graded on, let's say, more world building, then I might do a little less dialogue heavy characters and focus more on descriptions and environments. So I always really try to like stress to students, what is it that you're being graded on? And then start from there. You can do whatever story you want generally, assuming that there's no constraints on the type of story. Do the story that you want, but fit it and structure it to the grading system is my suggestion. All right. And question number 3. How do you turn a theme into a story? So this was actually a fun one that I saw a little earlier today. And sometimes this is what I end up doing when I start getting like inspired by something. So let's say that there's a theme that you like talking about. For me, I like write my favorite theme to address is actually the fantasy genre and the science fiction genre. I love to write stories that thematically challenge what it means to be a fantasy character and what it means to be a science fiction character. So my theme is, what is the line between science fiction and fantasy? I love that type of cross genre and that type of theme. Very fun. So, what you want to do for the theme is first off, write down the theme in one sentence. What is the specific theme that you're trying to tell? And then once you have the theme, then you want to start creating your characters and the world based off that theme. So, let's say that the theme you want to tell is, and this is just on the top of my mind. So, let's say the theme you want to talk about is treating people you want people to take away leading and treating others with kindness, right? And when you treat others with kindness, you will win the day or you will get farther ahead. So and if I was going to write that into a sentence, my theme, treat others with kindness so you can win the day. And then what I would do is I would write that down And then the characters that I would create would be based off of that theme. You want to create your hero, your protagonist, and your antagonist first. Create those two. And of course, they're going to be completely evenly opposing, right? So if I wanted to create a character following the theme of kindness, I would create a character who's, actually, I would flip. I think I would flip the narrative and try to do something different. I would create a protagonist who's a complete asshole. He would start off as a complete like ass to like everybody out there. Literally doesn't understand it, is probably one of like the worst people possible. And something that's going to happen in the story is going to have to challenge him to actually be kind, or he's going to be severely punished. Which means that his complete antagonist has to be someone either who is kindest individual on the face of your world, or it could be someone who is challenging your hero to be kind for a specific reason. And the fun thing is, there's so many different ways that you can go about it. And that's the creative writing portion of it. All right. So I hope that answered your question. And if you have any creative writing questions, don't forget to drop the question down in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer it for you. And I wanted to include bonus question. If you could create an anti-hero character, who would it be and why? All right. I'll repeat this one more time. So bonus question. If you could create an anti-hero character, who would it be and why? Some of my favorite references or some of my favorite anti-hero characters would probably be Dexter or Walter White. Breaking Bad. I think those would be some of my favorite. I'm trying to think of any other anti-heroes that really come to mind. I mean, yeah, no, I would say Walter White's probably one of the best anti-heroes from a television show from Breaking Bad. If I were to create an anti-hero, I would create a character probably with a set of principles, probably a character who's been very, very severely punished in one way, shape, or form, probably traumatic background, um, some sort of trauma that has caused them to act in a way that's either evil or indicative and manipulative of other people. But the only way to do that is if you're going to give someone a very evil trait, you have to give them some type of positive defining value that will make the audience or the reader want to root for them. And that's the important thing with that, with anti-heroes. If you just create a character who's completely evil, doesn't do anything of redeeming value, you're going to have more of an antagonist. You're going to have more of a villain than anything else. If you don't give people a reason to root for them, then that's they won't stick along for the ride. All right, that is fun. That actually makes me kind of want to create an anti-hero character. Maybe I might throw an anti-hero character into my into the last Scarecrow. We'll see. We'll see how it goes today. All right. And I'm going to hop straight into my next segment. So what I've done is I've included a brand new segment today to provide you, the writer, as much value as possible. So our new segment is called Technique of the Day. And today's technique of the day is going to be the character profile. So essentially what I'm going to do is I started a blank page here to give you, so you can see what I'm creating. And essentially a creative writing technique that I've learned over time is when you're writing a character, and now sometimes people will call this like character backgrounds, character indexes, character descriptions. Essentially what you want to think of a profile is you want to think of what are the main defining traits or what are the main defining values that your hero or your antagonist is going to need, right? And this is a great strategy, especially for new writers who are still trying to get into the habit and the hang of developing new characters. Um, For the first time ever, I called myself an author. Yay, congratulations. All right. We need to give Vaughn a round of applause. That's amazing, man. Why was that? What'd you publish today? All right. So for our technique of the day, when you're creating a character profile, what you want to do is you want to think of what are the main defining traits that you're going to need to create for it. So you're going to want to create a backstory. And let's just a little bit. There we go. All right, I'm going to drop this down. All right, so you want to create a backstory. You want to create strengths. You want to create weaknesses. You want to create a belief system. What does the character believe in? You want to create a quirks. What is one thing that your character does that can be kind of quirky? And usually quirks are a great way for making your reader or your audience fall in love with your character. Sometimes a quirk, and this was described in one of my favorite screenwriting techniques called Save the Cat, which if you're a scriptwriter or screenwriter, I'm sure you've heard before. All right. And then, so you want to have a backstory, strengths, weaknesses, beliefs, quirks, and let's see. I would say you could put family. I would say like close connections, I think is a good way to put it instead of family, because it's every character's view of what family is could be different. And these are the 6 that I would generally start out with. Of course, you could go into like a full detailed like 15, 20. Like there's so many different types of traits that you could add to it, but I want to start you off on going simple as possible. So let's say I was thinking an anti-hero. So if I were to start this character profile for an anti-hero, I would say, let's see. So I'm going to put here anti-hero character. And let's put this stuff in bold so that way we know. I should put that here just so it can differentiate that a little bit. All right, I want to make sure you guys can see. So if I was going to create an anti-hero character, his backstory would be human. Let's say it would be like let me go. What's a type that I haven't done before? I would say a male character in his 30s was nearly killed as a child when his parents got into trouble with a government, like not government, with a private, got in trouble with a private company for stealing no, I wouldn't say classified, for stealing, let's say, state of the art technology. That would be fun. So I could actually see this as a sci-fi novel. So then the backstory would be anti-hero character, male character. Actually, you know the character I would write? I don't know why I just came with this. I'm calling this character Tech. So okay, all right. Like the character named Tech in a in a sci-fi story. So Tech, he's going to be an anti-hero in his 30s, was nearly killed as a child when his parents got into trouble with a private company for stealing state-of-the-art technology. And I think there's some fun things I could do to play around with that. If I'm going to give him a strengths, oh, no, not that. All right, so strengths for Tech is he is, let's see, I would say he's witty. He's you know what his weakness is going to be? His weakness will be is clumsy with technology. And very intentional. I think he's grown this hatred of technology as a result. Strength is he's hyper critical of others, and he is witty, hypercritical of others. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something interesting here. Weakness, doesn't take care of himself. But I'm going to use one thing as both a strength and a weakness is manipulative. And I'm going to specifically put this as both a character strength and a character weakness because you can do that. There's a lot of the times our greatest strengths are our greatest weaknesses. Belief that let's make him a conspiracy theorist. Conspiracy theorist. Everyone, people suck, and everyone is out to get him. Needs to deal with private companies so they get what they deserve. And then that deserve, that's the story. That's going to be the story of how we get to actually explore Tech's story as an anti-hero. Quirk, something fun about him. I would say Tech likes to let's see. Quirk falls in love easily. So we'll have a moment at the beginning of the story where it feels like he's like in this really intimate relationship with somebody, but it's actually like a first or second date. And then it flips it on his head because he's the one who's going to get hurt in the very beginning. Close connections. This like seems right for Tech. His cat and his dog. Both of which fight and don't fight based on the day. So you see what I've done is I've created a very simple character profile. And now in creating the profile, I've created the outline and the base for a little bit of a story just in defining and determining his strengths and weaknesses, right? So that's kind of fun. Now, if I was to think about what is the story that I want to tell, the story is going to be about Tech, a character who struggles with a character who struggles with love and people decides goes on a revenge plot to take out the we're just going to call it private company who let's say killed we'll put killed for now who killed his parents as a child. There's a story. Tech, a character who struggles with love and people, goes on a revenge plot to take out the private company who killed his parents as a child. And there you go. There's your technique of the day. I'm going to save this. Maybe I'll turn it into a story. Maybe I won't. We'll see. Let's see. Character profile. I'm just going to call it. And we're going to do that for now. All right, perfect. So let's I'll hop back over to myself. So I hope that brought you some value. If the technique of the day helped you at all, or if any of the questions provided, sorry, I'm just taking this down, or if any of the questions provided any value for you, don't forget to like or subscribe this video. So that way you'll be alerted when I go live or when I drop new videos. All right. And let's hop back over here. let's see. So Vaughn, I remember you were saying you were called an author for the first time today. And I was applying for a brewery job just to serve beer and run the cash register. And I said, "Whatever have you done for the last 7 years?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually an author." That's great. I actually absolutely love that. I'm curious to see how they responded to it, man. They're like, "Oh, you know what? We don't have any authors right now. We needed an author to write about the brewery." That's perfect. All right. So let's hop back into we're going to go into our next segment, the 2024 Writing Challenge. And don't forget, if you hop into the stream or you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop a question below if you have any creative writing questions you want answered. So as we're hopping here, let me throw up some music. Perfect. So now we can really get into the writing vibe. On loaded in my head. I just thought, yeah, I'm a drunk. You're like, all right, and that is the start for your next story. The working at the brewery actually like makes you become like an even better author. Or you're gonna meet like your next like inspiration there, and they're actually going to lead to you like creating your like best-selling novel. Okay, so let's hop into the and just a moment. Adjust that. Okay, so let's hop into our writing segment. Let me pull up my screen. It's running a little loud on my end. I'm going to drop that down. Okay, so as you know, if you've been joining me the past couple weeks, my writing challenge has brought me to creating this story called The Last Scarecrow. It's based off this free write here that I started, 30-minute timer. And the pitch for The Last Scarecrow, this is the synopsis. The Last Scarecrow, a post-apocalyptic fairy tale about a scarecrow come to life, who journeys across a land ridden with animals, creatures, and beasts who are fading away into the nothingness at the hands of the first demon. All right, and I think today we're actually going to be able to almost get to start explaining the world. I'm actually very excited about today, about the next set that I want to work on. All right, so 30 minutes and go. Okay, so where I last left the Scarecrow off, they were in this little action sequence where they'd gone stuck in this room and this whole flame thing happened. So what I'm going to do is go back just a little bit so I can get myself back into the mindset. A bout of flames burst up right in front of them. He had to screech to a sudden halt. The floor nearly gave way where they stopped. They hopped to a different part of the unsteady flooring. In darkness again, they waited. As much as he wanted to keep running, they could only move during these random bouts of flame. He hoped for everything that he was worth that no flame caught his straw, that no fire caught his straw body, or else he really would be a goner. or else he would really go up in smoke. I'm going to, as I go through my second draft, I'm going to add more like comedic jokes to his character that he's picked up from creators over the years. He looked left and right. The flames suddenly started springing to life from the very floor beneath them. It began at the entrance of the room and trailed in their direction. That's not a good sign, the last Scarecrow cried as he sprinted to the opposite end of the room. The flames trailed right on his heels. He ran frantically. A pit on the floor. I like to end. A pit in the floor blocked the opposite wall. The flames snapped up the rest of the flooring. He jumped for dear life. Mr. Quilt flew against the wall. It came crumbling down, and the two of them crash landed in the next room with a wild display of tumbling. All right, perfect. And I want to see how long I've got myself in this chapter. So 9, I'm at 41. So right now this chapter is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm at about 6.5. I think I still have a little more to go. So we're going to continue on right now. And as you can see here, really, I'm trying to set up his gratitude that Mr. Quilt basically pulled him out of this like flaming room of fire that nearly killed him. And you see what I've done is now I'm setting it up. So if that wasn't the scariest encounter of his existence, he didn't know what could be worse. There's going to be a lot of things that are worse, but it's going to be a good. This will be a nice callback much later on in the story. I think it's good that after we had this dramatic tension and this dramatic scene here, that now we get to lighten the mood with this comedic uh, dissolution. We have this Mr. Quilt here trying to do a bowing motion. So what's interesting is I'm doing a throwback right now. So you could see what I was doing with the story. It was they've just gone through all these dangerous traps and counters, and now he's getting to this tower which he had spotted previously when he was traveling through the new city with the two ghost characters. And now this is a callback as he's wondering, like, oh, now I got here. And it gives him a chance to reflect on the two ghosts that he got separated from earlier as well. Because let's remember that he's been looking and searching for his companion, Mr. Crow, for roughly about 2 chapters now that they've been in New City. So you can see what I'm doing. Essentially, after they went through all those traps, now they're essentially crawling up this spiral tower, which was what they saw, which is what Mr. Scarecrow saw when he first entered the city at the very beginning. And this was the same one that now I can use as a callback to the earlier part of his journey, because now it's going to show how many traps and trials he had to go through just to get this far. And the surprise, which is going to be the first real turning point in the story, is going to be when they get to the top, which is going to be the fun part. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You're being attacked through Redders, and hopefully they'll join us. Appreciate that. That's really cool. I think it's always really cool when we get more and more writers in here, because then it gives us more things to talk about, and then I'm also able to kind of provide them more value, and it becomes it can become more of a collaborative process, which is super cool. Did you know this in Starbucks? They actually have a potato flavored syrup that you can order. Wait, really? They have a potato flavored syrup. Interesting. Is it like new? Is it a new syrup, or is it something that you have to mix to get that flavor? Interesting. I don't know if I remember a potato flavor unless it's like a new thing. Oh, in Idaho? That actually makes sense. What's funny is I don't think I've been back to a Starbucks since I since I gave my notice last year. I imagine I will return eventually with family or friends at some point. Oh, that's kind of funny. I'm trying to picture myself. All right, can I get a venti triple soy latte or a venti triple potato soy latte? They finally reach the top. Now that the door is in sight, now that they've gone through this entire thing, can he reach the door? No. Suddenly. Just when you think he can get there. Suddenly. Here it just when you think he's gonna reach the top too. And that is the end of this chapter. That's actually a really good cliffhanger because I know exactly what happens next. So, as you could tell, I got into a really good rhythm there. Let's see, that chapter right now in my notes, I have it called The First and Last Trials. Chapter 9, The First and Last Trials. And once again, which I was able to do similarly with the last, with actually the last chapter, when I had gone through chapter 8, I was able to leave it on a cliffhanger, which I actually love leaving on cliffhangers. That always, I feel like it adds to the suspense and the thrill that you're at the end of something, but then it makes you feel like, oh, I need to keep reading because I need to see what happens. All right, and that's going to bring us to chapter 10, which chapter 10, our page count now is at page 50. Now, I don't usually always do this. I don't always mark the pages. Bring this up. So I don't always mark the pages for my stuff, but because I'm of the type of novel that I'm putting together, it's something that I want to be aware of as I'm developing the novel. I could easily come up with a story that could span hundreds upon hundreds of pages easily if I wasn't being aware that I need to keep my story and my characters on track. And I'm very I have a path and I have a goal and a guide on how I'm going to get through the story and get to the end now. And I want to make sure that I'm spending the appropriate amount of time for each, not just chapter, but each sequence and each beat to as the last Scarecrow journeys to continues on his journey. because chapter 10 is going to be called The Last Mentor. I'm very content with that. So you're going to we'll get to see in the next chapter what the mystery of New City is actually all about. So as we go through as I think back through the last couple chapters, we had let's see, where so chapter 9 was the second half of New City. And I want to say that chapter 8, as I get up here. So I want to say that I titled chapter 8 was the beginning, the last New City. And previously, before this chapter, the Scarecrow's journey had taken him through a lot of barren lands and a lot of barren environments. He had gone through a snowstorm. He'd gone through a summer storm. He's gone through a kind of a variety of elements, generally on a solo journey. And I really wanted to flip the script, so to speak, and increase the not just the suspense of the city, because we're like, what? How come he's going through the city where he's meeting ghosts, he's meeting flying rugs that can come to life, and this is the first time where he's encountering things that are of a magical nature, and it's starting to give you a little bit more question and mystery about the world, because this new city is one of the last when I was thinking of it, was one of the last real environments or cities of the creators before their untimely demise as a race. So now that I have chapter 8 was the last new city, chapter 9 was the first and last trials. And now as I think about, like, whenever I think of things, I always try to keep a rule of threes. And I think about, as his time in New City, what are the three major obstacles that he's experienced, or the three major things? He encountered the ghosts. He fought the flying sheets thing in the marketplace where he encountered Mr. Quilt. And then he went through the fire trap trial thing in the rooms below. And I've technically now added a fourth thing where the ceiling collapsed, which is technically not a fourth thing, but the fourth is going to be used as more of a transition. Awesome. All right. Well, I feel great about what I've accomplished today. Let's see. So when I'm next going to be up, that's actually a great question. So usually what I'm doing is I'm reviewing my cadence. I'm reviewing the times I'm coming on Sundays at the end of the week as I make a plan for what my schedule is going to look like for the next week. What I'll do is I'll post up my streaming schedule for next week, probably sometime tonight or tomorrow morning. So that way, if you want to hop on during the live stream, you'll be able to see the times that I'm planning on going live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. In the meantime, if you found any value from today's Kauffman Writes, whether that was from the questions or the technique or the storytelling as I was narrating, please don't forget to like and or subscribe this piece of content, because I value you and I want to continue to create things that help you grow as a writer. I'm going to sign off for the day, and I will catch you tomorrow. This is Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the flip side.